Excerpts from the Book of Zeal. The First Gathering. Some time passed, and, as was agreed, Vespers, elementals, mankind, and even many of the animals gathered for the grand celebration. The Vespers and elementals communicated the way they always had, by thought alone. The races of man, however, were not naturally capable of that form of communication. They used a vocal method called speech. The Vespers spent the beginning of the meeting devising a way for the races to communicate. As the peoples of the world spread out, they developed a variety of different languages. Some were used by members of the same race within the different communities that arose throughout the world. Others were regional in nature and were used amongst several races living in the same area of the world. The abundance of languages made for interesting variety in the world, but it also made communication difficult between the various groups assembled. The Vespers could communicate with everyone. They realized it would fall on them to solve the problem. Zeal addressed everyone.
Greetings all. I am Zeal, the leader of the Vespers. We are the ones who brought you all to life. I know you can all understand me, but many of you cannot understand each other. So we Vespers have taken it upon ourselves to create a universal language, one that can be used and understood by all the denizens of Enfadiel.
Zeal nodded to two of the Lifa. Realizing that it would take too long for everyone to learn another language by normal means, Zeal created a way to implant the language into the very essence of man. The members of the various races were unsure and even a little frightened by the Vespers' efforts, but they trusted their creators. Their faith paid off as they soon felt a form of enlightenment fall upon them. When the Vespers finished, the various peoples assembled all realized that besides whatever languages with which they were already familiar, they could speak and understand a new tongue. They also found that everyone else could understand what they were saying, regardless of their race or place of origin. With the language barrier problem solved, the festivities began. The peoples of the world made much merriment. Members of the different races of man brought food and drink, things that were necessary for their survival, but unfamiliar to the Vespers and elementals. Mankind's members exchanged many ideas, and the Vespers and elementals taught them about the subtle nuances of the world in which they lived. The gathering was a great success. When the assembly was over, everyone returned to their normal lives. The location where everything had taken place was now called Vesper Grove, named so because the Vespers had convened there since the world's beginning. Because of the high mana content that surrounded it, the grove was only accessible to the races of man and the animals when the Vespers prepared it for them. Before leaving, everyone agreed that the gathering should not be limited to a one-time event. The Vespers wanted everyone to reconvene at Vesper Grove for more gatherings on a periodic basis, but therein lay one problem that was uncovered during the assembly. How could they keep track of the intervals between gatherings? The two problems. During all the joy and glee of the great gathering, mankind raised a couple of concerns. First, people from all over mentioned the sky problem. On one side of Enfadiel, the sky was lit up by a brilliant light, which the Vespers had named the sun. The light was so bright that it bathed the side of Enfadiel that faced it in an unceasing radiance. The Vespers had always been aware of the sun's presence. It had never been an issue for them. Many of the peoples that now inhabited the world felt differently. The problem was that the other side of the planet did not have the sun shining down on it. Instead, two smaller lights that were called Luna and the moon, as well as some very tiny lights called the stars, shine down from the sky. Their brilliance paled in comparison to that of the sun. As a result, that side of Enfadiel was blanketed in an unending darkness. Many of the world's peoples found the setup untenable. Some who had made homes on the sunny side of the world tired of the sun's non-stop glaring, while some of those that lived on the side with Luna, the moon, and the stars desired a reprieve from the constant darkness. The matter of time was the other concern raised at the gathering. The Vespers decided that the gathering would be a regular occurrence, but they did not have a good way to determine when each occurrence of the gathering should take place. The Vespers were eternal. They had never needed to tell time before. Now, with the coming of man, they realized they had to address the topic. So the Vespers contemplated what needed to be done to solve the problems. It was a Gale named Kronos that came up with an idea that would solve both problems.
I have it. We'll just make the sky turn.
Kronos exclaimed when the Vespers came together to discuss the problems at hand. The other Vespers looked at Kronos with doubt.
Don't you get it? We Gales created the sky. It should be well within our power to make it turn.
What good will that do?
Pyre asked.
If the sky is spinning, then no side of Enfadil will get too much or too little of the sun. This will solve that problem.
Cronus answered.
That sounds nice, but it's a bit nonsensical. The sky is just the area above the planet. You can't make it spin the way you suggest, and even if you could, the sun, moon, and Luna are not in the sky. They are beyond this world. Causing the sky to spin would not change what the people experience on the world's surface.
Blaze pointed out the flaw in Cronus's reasoning. The Vespers considered Blaze's words and decided he was correct.
I believe Cronus had the right idea. He tackled the problem in a way expected from a Gale. The sky is their domain, but it isn't what must change. The planet itself is what needs to spin. If the Gales exert their power on the world from the sky above, they should be able to achieve the same effect as what Cronus was suggesting.
Fjord figured out the solution to the flaw in reasoning that Blaze had mentioned.
Ah, I see.
Eris said as she grasped the idea.
But supposing you are correct, how does this solve the problem of time?
I've thought about that too, and concluded that solving one problem solves the other.
The Vespers returned their attention to Cronus.
You see, if we spin the planet as Fjord suggests, both sides of the planet will get a period of darkness and an equal period of light, since this will be a regular occurrence. Time can be measured in cycles of light and dark.
Kronos explained. The Vespers did not know what to make of this new idea. Even Zeal seemed a little taken aback by it.
Well, it seems to me that this is more for the benefit of mankind than it is for us. So why don't we go out among them and pose the suggestion to them?
Zeal offered. The Vespers agreed with this and went out among the races to seek their opinions. The humans and elves delighted in the idea. The dwarves mostly lived deep in caves and had no opinion. Neither the Tengu nor the Draconites had a problem with the present situation, but they also had no objection to what the Vespers proposed. The fairies did not have strong opinions since they lived deep in the forests. They relied more on mana springs and bioluminescent plants for light than the sun or any other skylights. The mermen inhabited the waters. Like the dwarves, they refrained from making any judgment. The gnomes and pixies alike were curious to see the new plan work, so they pushed for the idea. Finally, the Vespers searched for and found the spectres. They all seemed to favor the dark, but they were able to follow it no matter where it went. The spectres agreed that if the other races wanted the change, they would not object. All the Vespers decided to make the change. The Gales took to the sky and began flying around the planet, gently pulling at it with their power. Their collective effort caused the planet to rotate. The rotation started slowly but then increased in speed. The Gales stopped to see the fruits of their labor and realized that the planet was spinning too fast. The motion was having an adverse impact on the surface of the world, so they enacted the same process again but flew in the opposite direction to slow the planet down. Once they had it moving at a speed that all the Vespers could agree upon, the Gales returned to the grove. Now both sides of the planet got equal levels of light and dark. The Vespers called the period of light day, after the name mankind gave to the continent on the lit side of Enfadiel. Likewise, they named the period of darkness night, after the continent on the dark side of the planet. The Vespers discussed the changes with mankind and took suggestions from the peoples of the world to create a few other conventions. One full cycle of night and day would be called a crone after Kronos, who had first proposed the solutions to the two problems. The Vespers came up with a period of time called a week that consisted of 10 crones. They named each crone within a week after a race of man, Nomus, Pixus, Pharis, Spectus, Elvus, Humus, Dwarvus, Murmus, Tengus, and Draconus. The Vespers devised another period of time that they called a month. Months consisted of 5 weeks. As time passed, the world would cycle through 10 months, and each 10-month period would be called a year. The Vespers named the 10 months that comprised the repeating cycle. 5 months they named after the elementals, Golar, Aquate, Ire, Flarus, and Dria. The other 5 they named after the Vesper groups, Terra, Aquade, Gallus, Magmus, and Liphar. Every 10th year on the first crone of that year, the Vespers would hold another gathering, and thus they solved the time problem. All of mankind accepted the changes and continued with their lives, thankful for the work by the Vespers to address the two problems. After 10 years passed, all the peoples of the world gathered once again and shared their experiences. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe for more tales from Zeal. Also, look out for Birth of the Forever King, the first novel from the world of Zeal. It's coming soon.